Welcome back to my little fashion corner and Fashionably Short, which is insert a snappy title for a short video about a theme or topic that did not deserve a clickbaity title like deep dive or the rise and fall of this and that, because that person or situation or whatever maybe was just not that deep and didn't hurt any people. So yeah, it's not algorithm friendly, so Fashionably Short it is. And I had a plan. I was going to start this whole millennial nostalgia series properly, kick it off with, Misha Barton, move on to Lauren Conrad, The Hills, Lindsay Lohan, the whole thing. And I had a list and I was organized and it was going to be great-ish. And then Nicole Richie got in the way, as she would. Because I cannot, in good conscience, start talking about the early 2000s pop culture and not stop everything for Nicole Richie. She overrides the list. She overrides Misha, and I love Misha. You know I love Misha. Misha knows I love Misha. There is Nicole. Nicole Richie is one of the most interesting women to come out of that entire era, I think. So I want to talk about her. Misha, Lauren, Lindsay, they'll have to wait on the sidelines. I'll get to them. Nicole goes first. And because we all kind of know the broad strokes, we're really just gonna do like Fashionably Short. Have I mentioned that? I really don't want to go in too deep. I'm not an insider to have a unique opinion or experience with her. Lionel Richie, the adoption from her groupie parents, Michael Jackson as her godfather. It's been covered in way too much detail and I don't think it's really useful to constantly drag it up. So let's just do a timeline, It's like with Khloe Kardashian and her parents. Bio or not, these are the people that chose her, that she chose, that took care of her, and she calls them mother and father. And there's that. So Brenda Harvey Richie, Lionel's first wife and Nicole's mother. She fell in love with her immediately, apparently, when Nicole arrived as a toddler. Brenda pushed for the adoption and she seemed to be the consistent daily presence throughout Nicole's childhood and teenage years. I believe they were her guardians until about 9, right after the adoption papers got finalized. Lionel had an affair. That affair became publicized as he got caught. The marriage collapsed and they split. Nicole said that Brenda taught her about style, strength, and family values. Slightly shady. In a 2006 Vanity Fair interview, Nicole said, "Her way of making me happy was to say yes to everything I wanted, but I don't think a little girl should have that much freedom." She also says she had a wonderful childhood. Luckily, our memories fade and the brain tends to remember the good parts of your life. She met Paris Hilton at 5 years old at the Buckley School in Sherman Oaks. 40 years of friendship, one very public falling out. They buried the hatchet, so there's that. Nicole graduated high school in 1999, went to University of Arizona and dropped out after 2 years, came back to LA, and LA in the early 2000s, if you were young and connected and had no particular reason to behave yourself, that was its own ecosystem entirely. I say in retrospect, not as someone who grew up there. And that is why we have things like The Simple Life, Laguna Beach, The Hills, Girls Next Doors, Kardashians, Real Housewives, and much more. Nicole, the drug use has started in her teens. She's been very open about the progression. In 2007 interviews, she said, "I started off with marijuana, graduated to coke, then prescription pills. Then someone was just like, 'Do you want to try heroin?' And I was like, 'Sure, whatever.'" She's also explained it as boredom, as having seen everything too fast and not knowing what to do with feelings she didn't have the language for yet. To Diane Sawyer in 2007, "I got so much so fast that nothing really excited me anymore. I think I was just bored and I had seen everything, especially when you're young, you just want more." February 2003, Nicole got arrested in Malibu. Heroin was found in the car and she was also driving on revoked license. Was charged with felony possession, and the story told by her and her father, and even in her memoir, the story goes that it wasn't her car and neither was the heroin. She told Deborah Norville in 2004, "If I had known heroin was in the car, I would have hid it. I seriously didn't know." Nicole was 2 days away from going to rehab voluntarily, and she had already signed on to do The Simple Life. She said, "So many times I've driven with drugs in the car and never got caught. The only time I truly wasn't doing anything, I got caught. But I believe everything happens for a reason." She talked about this incident in her memoir. It's there as a story of Khloe. Lionel was out there, sort of helping her fight for her public image. He says he didn't force her, but told her about 3 friends he'd lost. one to driving under influence, one to drugs, and one to, I don't know if I have to say unaliving himself. Let's go with that. He said it would happen to her generation and he didn't want her on that list. A few months later, one of Nicole's friends died of an overdose. That's one. A year later, another one in a car crash. That's two. And Lionel said that she called him in tears, begging for help and saying she doesn't want to be number three. He cancelled his tour and Brenda, her mother, checked her and themselves into rehab as parents to support her. She was out of rehab 10 days before she started The Simple Life, which might sound crazy, but when you remember season 1 for what it was, they filmed it as going to Arizona for a month. No phones, no money, living with this family. It's a pretty smooth follow-up to a detox, not going back directly to your environment. The Simple Life, that show is modeled on Green Acres. Simple Life premiered December 2nd, 2003. 23 years ago, and 13 million viewers tuned in to watch the first episode. It made Fox's key demographic rise 79% overnight. That format was simple, you know? Two LA socialites who have never worked and dropped them on the farm in Arkansas. The real family. Why did I thought it was in Arizona? And they filmed what happened. Paris Hilton was already on the LA scene. I'm sure it's been mentioned gazillion times to you, but it was meant to be Paris and her sister Nikki, both sisters, so to speak. However, Nikki backed out or never said yes, something like that. Then they went to Paris's socialite friends. First one was Casey Johnson, she said no, and Kimberly Stewart, who also said no. And then comes Nicole. Nicole was somewhat unknown and she absolutely stole the first season. And by the way, is anyone surprised that Fox TV is friendly with the Hiltons? Right, here's what Nicole brought to the show. She had a personality beyond being privileged. She was sharp, she is sharp, funny, witty, deadpan sense of humor. No, Paris was the oblivious socialite. In the book, Nicole talks about how Simone was just dumb and the camera work and editing just made her seem this aloof personality. But Nicole was the one with an actual comedic timing, the one who seemed like she was slightly enjoying the chaos she was causing. She was absolutely iconic. She just didn't seem to care that this was happening to her. She was there to have fun, kind of, sorta. And knowing she filmed this just after rehab is kind of insane. You know, you see her with great sense of humor, open about her life, about her struggles. And by the time season 1 finished, airing in early 2004, she was a star of her own right. Not Lionel's daughter, not Paris's friend, not LA socialite per se, Nicole Richie. She has decided to write that memoir and announced it during filming Candidly Nicole, which, if you're upset with the state of reality TV, you want to go back to the good stuff, you don't have to keep rewatching Real Housewives of. Go back to Candidly Nicole. That should be definitely on your watch list. In the TV show, she did mention working with a ghostwriter, which I completely forgot about. I was rereading it and I felt like it was written by more than one person. That sort of explains a lot. Also, it's such a shame that Nicole has not written it herself. Maybe it was just that she didn't, I don't think everyone has it in them to just sit down and write out a book. She has such a good personality and her storytelling certainly would be fun. In one of the episodes of Candidly Nicole, she asks her friends to sort of like fill in some gaps, and watching her friends describe her as this ruthless, mean menace of a bitch, of a prankster, to me that was anxiety inducing, but again explains a lot what kind of person Nicole was growing up. Unfortunately, it was the 2000s. Before season 1 had even aired, she'd been caught as in the press, standing next to Paris Hilton in a decade still haunted by heroin chic. The press was more than happy to make that case. In her memoir, she writes about how she would come out of rehab with an actual appetite and was really enjoying eating and enjoying food and liking it for the very first time. Back then, it was part of Nicole that I really liked so much because she was branded the fat friend and I was designated fat friend, and for the longest longest time, my brain couldn't comprehend why that mattered. However, she doesn't really talk too much about any body image issues in her memoir, which could be a surprise to many. Maybe it really wasn't an issue for her, or she just didn't know how to tackle that. However, it was plastered all over the media, especially later when she went back to partying. Sometimes you'd hear people say, well, everyone would look fat next to Paris Hilton, who was also tall, and Nicole is 5'1"-ish, 155 centimeters, a kitten heel over Kylie Minogue. And I would take that, you know, and think we have so much in common. I would look fat next to Paris Hilton. Mind you, I'm even taller, good 6 centimeters more. But it's the fatties together, do you know what I mean? We'll skip the comparisons published by tabloids. There are circles around variety of body parts, befores and afters, and the afters and befores. I think in 2006 we're more than aware of what media did to women, what it continues doing to women. Between 2003 and 2008, Nicole was pretty prominently flaunted in the media. Blind items, many of them featuring her partners, DJ AM, the second survivor together with Travis Barker of that plane crash, who then sadly passed away due to overdose a year later. But also Joe Madden. Joe fucking Madden. That relationship, according to Blinds, of course, seems to have been absolutely bonkers, toxic, up and down, you know, terrible, allegedly. Maybe I leave that for if I ever start doing Blinds episodes. It is so hot. If you're a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills fan, these days, I mean, you may have met Rachel Zoe. She's a stylist, designer, and from the millennia, you may have seen the Rachel Zoe project. And, you know, there's much more to her. She was a stylist not only to, but also to the Holy Trinity, Nicole, Lindsay, Misha Barton. And the look that she promoted and made pretty much mainstream was this 60s, 70s boho chic rock, right? Layers of fabric, accessories. She is probably the reason why I wonder every 6 months if I should get everything high-waisted, platform shoes, hobo and messenger bags, hat, and layer on the jewelry. There was loads said about her promoting malnourished looking bodies amongst her clients, which she of course denied. After some feuds between Rachel and Nicole, they parted ways in 2006, but not long after, Nicole would give us her own statement. What also happened in 2006 was Nicole's DUI. She was driving in the wrong direction on a freeway in Burbank. She said that she'd smoked, you know, a little devil's lettuce, and then took Vicodin that morning for cramps, and hadn't really thought that it would have any effect on her driving. She received a 4-day sentence, served exactly 82 minutes of it due to overcrowding policy. It was very similar to Khloe Kardashian's stay. In December 2006, she became romantically involved with Joel Madden. Again, relationship, crazy. And in January 2008, they welcomed their baby Harlow Winter Kate Madden. Sparrow James Midnight Madden joined their family in September 2009. And it was in 2008 that Nicole established House of Harlow 1960s. She also went sober that year. And from what we know about her, she maintained sobriety since. I loved House of Harlow. Of course I did. It was jewelry that I would have never worn because I would be way too uncomfortable. I adored it. I thought it was the most fun jewelry line, and then when she added clothes, most fun clothes you could be buying. It was colors and layers and 60s and 70s personality, not just loud or gaudy. Personality. House of Harlow is named after her daughter, and also because the 1960 reference is Jean Harlow, the platinum blonde Hollywood actress, and the era's aesthetics. In 2024, she dropped the 1960s and rebranded it to just House of Harlow, repositioning as modern luxury jewelry house. So, House of Harlow. So she launched it in 2008 with 50-piece costume jewelry collection co-created with jeweler Pascal Moawad. The timing post-tabloid spiral, post-partying couple of years, newly sober, newly with a child, and channeling all that into reinventing herself as a businesswoman. Then in 2009, she launched Winter Kate, a separate line for her clothing. It was all rooted in 60s and 70s music and that freedom. She said in interviews that classic rock is what she listens to every day, and that fed directly into her brand DNA. It's bohemian California vintage chic, those fabrics in muted oranges, rusts and mustards, tie-dye of course, free flow and kimono silhouettes and so on. She was consistently returning to the same references and refining them rather than chasing trends, which probably helped, although not enough. She said in an interview, "Fashion should be accessible. That was my philosophy when designing House of Harlow 1960, and it remains my philosophy for Winter Kate." I started working on this collection in early 2009. The pieces can be dressed up, made casual, but most importantly, they provide the wearer a means of self-expression and fun. 2000 jewelry, 2009 clothing, and 2010 House of Harlow adds glasses, apparel and shoes. So there was House of Harlow jewelry, House of Harlow clothing and Winter Kate clothing all sort of coexisting. And it was a bit more than velour tracksuits and hair dryers in Walmart. Or was it in TK Maxx? I think it was Walmart. I'm trying to shade Paris Hilton because you know she's watching. The strategy for the brands was essentially be everywhere, in every category, in every department store. Pretty standard for how business partners treated celebrity brands back then. Something the Kardashian Jenners are still living by, so it seems. 2011 she added eyewear, and 2014 there was home fragrance. That is really a lot. In a 2021 Adweek interview, she was pretty candid about starting the brand young. "I hadn't always had the best partners, and the wholesale model meant the brand ended up in too many places without enough control. It was everywhere, but it didn't mean much anywhere." 2019 Revolve partnership. She pulled back from wholesale and shifted to direct consumer model through Revolve, which was a smarter choice, I think. Smaller footprint, more intentional. And the 2021 New York Fashion Week moment and Nicole Richie, her half-sister, collaboration both happened through Revolve as well. Although I never loved how much Revolve sponsors influencers who will swear by a different thing every 3 days. In 2024 comes full reset. She and Joel Madden bought the company back completely, took back full creative control, restructured it, dropped the 1960s, so now it's just House of Harlow, and repositioned it as a modern luxury jewelry house. So back to where it started. The first fine jewelry collection, Nova, launched in November 2024. It was natural diamonds and 14 karat gold, garnets, tiger eye, tourmaline, all these lovely, lovely stones. She described it as a moment of rebirth, the brand, and for me personally. The brand launched the same year she got sober, got engaged, and had her first child. 3 things that change your life accidentally or on purpose. House of Harlow was part of that construction. Now she is building it herself on her own terms. She reinvented the tabloid version of her into something that actually was her, stories that belonged to her. It wasn't a clean sort of straight exponential growth, but that's just not life. Life tends to do its thing. And regardless of how much it's is tinted by managing the publicity, I really like and respect that. As I mentioned, Nicole Richie wrote her autobiography, Truth About Diamonds. It is lovely. I think it's a lovely way how to process everything that happened to her. Give it a read if you need easy beach read. And then she also co-wrote a novel called Priceless. I think again she wrote it with a ghostwriter, which is great shame, but it is again fun, easy read, and it goes between New York and New Orleans. So if you're looking for a fun escapism moment, Nicole Richie books could be just the thing for you. Anyway, that was Fashionably Short about Nicole Richie or House of Harlow and how it all came about. Thanks for watching, thanks for putting up with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!